Hi, in this short video we're going to talk about monopolistic competition. It's very similar to Monopoly, so before you watch this video you should have a firm grounding in our analysis of Monopoly, which is discussed in another video. So monopolistic competition is a model that's meant to basically be applicable to situations where you have patented or branded products so that only one company could make that particular product with that particular brand or that they have a patent over. But all of these patented or branded products are close substitutes. And classic examples of situations like this would be, let me get my pen, would be like different types of colas. So only Coke can sell Coca-Cola, only Pepsi can sell Pepsi-Cola. There's RC Cola, generic colas like Sam's Choice, but all of these colas are pretty similar. A lot of people would have a preference for one or the other, but by and large people see them as close substitutes. So they're each type of cola a company has a monopoly over, and yet they're still competing, hence monopolistic competition. Other examples could be different types of cereals. A company could have a patent on Lucky Charms. Only, I guess, General Mills probably can sell Lucky Charms, but there's lots of other marshmallow wheat cereals and other sugary cereals that probably most people shopping for cereal see as close substitutes. So they're competing even though each has a monopoly on its particular brand. A third recent one would be Android phones. They're all pretty similar, but they each have their own unique features and their own, sort of style and brand. There's Xiaomi phones and Samsung phones and LG phones, but they're still clearly competing in a similar market. So in the short run in monopolistic competition, typically firms will earn profits. So let's draw a diagram for a monopoly and represent one particular firm, say Coca-Cola in the Coke market. So we'll draw in its demand curve, D, which represents the price it can sell at. Marginal revenue is always below the price, so MR would look something like this. And then it has some marginal costs, maybe that look like this, and an ATC somewhere down here that hits its minimum where it intersects MC. On this diagram, I drew the minimum ATC where it intersects MC at the same quantity as MR equals MC. That's just because I'm lazy. There's no particular reason to expect that in real life. All right, so now that we've labeled, drawn in all of our curves, we can label the quantity this monopoly wants to produce. It wants to produce where MR equals MC. So it produces big Q starred. Remember, we use big Q here because the monopoly is the entire market. Given that it's producing this Q star, we can go up to the demand curve and see how much people are willing to pay. They're willing to pay whatever this price is, P star. And then we can see on the ATC curve that at Q star, the ATC is all the way down here. So P is way above ATC, and this firm is earning what looks like a substantial profit. If we wanted to shade it in, it would be this height between P and ATC times the quantity it's producing. So this whole light blue shaded box. And this would be a typical short run situation. You can earn profits in the short run, but just like in perfect competition in the long run, if there is profit, there's going to be a tendency for more and more firms to want to enter and compete and earn their own economic profits. So now we'll go ahead and draw a long run diagram for monopolistic competition. This is one of the most difficult diagrams to draw, so I highly recommend you check out the piece-by-piece drawing of it in the helpful hint for monopolistic competition. So we'll set up the same costs in the long run, presumably. Whoops, I don't want the entire diagram in blue. So the cost for a monopoly in the long run usually won't change. Just like in perfect competition, we'll typically assume the cost structure doesn't change as we shift from long run to short run. But the demand for the product typically will. So we'll have ATC here looking something like this. We'll have our marginal cost going through its minimum. Now, demand initially was pretty high for this particular cola, say Coca-Cola. But now as Pepsi entered the market, as all sorts of rip-off generics entered the market, as RC Cola entered the market, demand slowly shrinks. So if the original demand was here, let's say, and the original MR was here, now demand is going to shift in, and in particular it's going to keep shifting in as more and more firms enter until this Coke isn't making a profit anymore, until all the firms that our monopolistic competitors are no longer making profit. And we'll see that represented by the condition P equals ATC. So let me draw in a demand here. This is my new demand, and I'll draw in the associated marginal revenue, MR, here. So we're producing this quantity, Q star star I could call it, and then we go up and see the price is here, and at that price, P star star, it turns out that at that price, it's matching ATC star star that we get from just going up to the ATC curve at Q. So I start here, go up vertically, dot, 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 get to ATC star star, and since ATC star star equals P star star, this firm's making 0 profit. As a reminder, remember our profit as a function of Q is Q times P minus ATC. So if P and ATC are equal, our profit is 0, and this is stable in the long run. So that's pretty much all you need to know about monopolistic competition. The book goes on to discuss how advertising is modeled by economists. It's something that you would assume monopolistic competitors would want to do. Pepsi and Coke advertise a lot to create, you know, some identification with their particular brand. Pretty much no economist that I've ever met finds anything in the textbook about advertising compelling. Any reasonable person sees advertising as basically trying to convince people to buy shit that they don't really need, not as a complicated way to signal how great your product is. But, you know, you have to know that stuff, so go ahead and read the textbook.